So, sup guys, I'm your host Paikor for today's YouTube video, and today we are gonna be learning 20 tips on how to improve at Brawlhalla. Let's get on with it. Tip number 1, it's kind of self-explanatory, warming up. Warming up in Brawlhalla is really important, such for the reason that, come on, nobody wants to claim gold. Like, the second you hop on, you don't want to believe, like, you don't want to, like, oh, I'm on Brawlhalla, ranked 1v1s, boom, 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 oh, queue up, let's go. Like, nobody's that psycho, okay? Once you boot up Brawlhalla, take your time, move a little bit, move your hands, make sure that you're ready for some Brawlhalla gaming, okay? Because not every one of us are completely ready for Brawlhalla gaming the second we get on. Like, look at me. I'm not there, but I'm getting there, okay? And that's my tip number 1. Always warm up on Brawlhalla. You seriously don't want to play this game on cold hands. It's the worst feeling ever. Tip number two. Optimal punishes on your weapons. I'm talking about, optimal string punishes more or less. On gauntlets, for example, an optimal string punish if they spot dodge. Let's say, for example, they spot dodge. Where's dodge? They dodge neutral, right? So let's say they dodge neutral off the side, right? What my optimal dodge would, optimal punish would look like is something. Oh, I fucked it up. Would look like something like that, right? And it's impressive how many people don't even know stuff like that. You could do after they dodge. And the same thing kind of goes for sword. Basically, it would be something like their GP into recovery, but they're a little bit too low for that. But you kind of get the gist of it, right? Knowing the optimal string combos over your weapons. Now, I don't think there's a website for that. It's kind of like for gauntlets, the most optimal ones are the one I showed you already. This. Then there's the recovery version of it, which is this is for killing. Then if they dodge to the side, just imagine him dodging to the side. Oh fuck. Wait. Oh. That would be optimal if they dodge to the side. But that's for gauntlets. And for sword, the only one optimal thing you can really do is just after D-Light, you GP and you recovery. Not like that, but if they don't have a dodge, let's say they gravity cancel, and then you hit the D-Light, you can do D-Light GP in recovery. Those are some examples. Now, I think Spear has double D-Light, Lance has some wacky stuff which I don't know about, and Side probably has 30 different optimal ways of damaging the opponent after they dodge. But each their own, My third tip is input lag. Now, let me share my screen a little bit. So, this, what you see right here on my screen, is set timer resolution. Now, you can Google this, set timer resolution. You can download this off the internet, the interweb. Maybe there's a link down the comments below somewhere. This, for example, helps me with my, PC running a little bit better. Then there's, of course, stuff this is intelligence standby list cleaner. It's basically same as set timer resolution, but it makes your PC run a little bit faster. This is you could probably find 30 different guides off the internet, just Google 300 tips on how to make your PC run faster. There's ways of setting this up, and of course there's there's launch options, which Brawlhalla players fight about, which are the most, optimal launch option, which are the most optimal. Now, these are some of the ones I use. I think the most important ones are frame fix, unbounded. No network is kind of, each to their own. For me, it works. For some people, it might make your game run a little bit slower. And then for service is, another one that really works well for me. But each their own. I'm not sure about Force 32 or DX9. I don't think they do shit for the game. But there's just placebo, which I like to do. Alright, and those are my logs options. And there's a billion different videos on the interwebs. That's search up input lag improvements, fucking Fortnite, Brawlhalla, etc. You'll find videos of them. And just follow some at your own discretion. Tip number 4, don't have jump as aim up. Okay? This is one of those control things which if you have this as W, it's one of the most troll things you could do in this video game. Because there's no way you are able to do any type of axe pivots in the game, which are really important for especially, you know, team combos. So, for example, if I had blasters, what's blasters? That has blasters. Wait, whatever. Sword, blasters. There we go. So, for example, on blasters, you could not do axe pivots, right? Which are a really good way of poking people out of platforms, and just, you know, it's a really good move just to overall, like, you know, use. And you couldn't like do backwards and lights if you had jump as aim up, jump plus aim up, I mean. And this is like really important for team combos, you know, starting them out. If they're running to the edge, you know, you can just reverse and light them and your teammate can get them. It's really good for 2v2s, which is kind of like low-key mandatory. I will lie, this is mandatory for 2v2s. But for 1v1s, you might be able to like reach some ridiculous amount of elo without like being punished for it. But you know, it's one of those things that will mechanically make you play better. I mean, worse, not better. And yeah. Just, you know, delete that. Put your jump on a other button, spacebar. I don't know, the number 9, like whatever works. But don't have your jump at W because you won't be able to aim up, and you can't be doing like, for example, gauntlet combos. Let's get gauntlets. Like you wouldn't be able to do this. Okay, well, like this, all of that would have been impossible to do with W up, like W as jump up. Tip number 5. Just enjoy the game. That's it. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the legend you play. You'll be kind of surprised how many people try to force themselves to learn, let's say, like 10 different legends, and you know, they want to really badly get that certain ranked 1v1 or 2v2 elo, so they just force themselves to, you know, do things they don't enjoy doing. So my tip number 5 is honestly just pick a character you like. Let's say you like Cassidy. You know, pick up Cassidy, go into EXP, and just enjoy the game. Honestly, it's one of the bigger tips, like, on this whole list that I would give out, is just enjoy the game, because the only way you're seriously able to improve in this game is putting down hours into the game. Hours, minutes, milliseconds, everything you can squeeze out of this game. Just put in the time for it, right? Enjoy the game. Don't stress yourself about reaching a certain elo in a certain time, because nobody really cares. This guy's cool. And yeah, just have fun. Yeah, play some EXP, play some Cassidy, get rolled in the queue. You know the deal. That's my tip number 5. Enjoy the legend. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the game, guys. Just enjoy the game. That's honestly the best way to improve. Number 6 tip, what I would give out, is mixing your engagements. Okay, Brawlhalla is one of those games where literally every opponent is playing for their lives. Okay, so every opponent will always be, you know, trying to figure out, you know, what you're doing, right? And even you are hopefully trying to figure out what they're doing, right? Wait, am I able to make this just stand? Can you, like, yeah, random. So, you know, the game is really about just figuring out what's going on in the heat of the battle, okay? And one of the bigger things with this is just mixing up your engagements, okay? Because what I see a lot of people doing is they get really easily set on just one thing working out for them. Let's just say side lighting. Okay, side lighting is working against this guy. I'm just gonna keep on spamming that. Oh, he's gonna, you know, not gonna be able to do anything against this. Oh, right? But at higher level, once you get to a certain point, that one thing will stop working eventually, right? And you'll just find yourself really hard stuck at figuring out what to do. And one thing, you know, just mix up your engagements. You know, one time you're engaging with D-Light, one time you're gravity canceling D-Light, recovering with Hammer. The next engagement you're gonna be side-seeking him, maybe. Okay, don't change up every engagement, but, you know, make sure that you don't make it super predictable for the opponent to figure out, you know, your next engagement. Because the second you're predictable, you know, the game is gonna be 10 times easier for the next opponent to, you know, just like space around the move and, you know, do what they want. Okay, so really important. Just mix up your engagements. Okay, do it. Tip number 7. Knowing your matchups and what you can do and can't do, okay? Now, matchups, of course, they go a little bit for each of their own, right? You know, this is more or less a personal thing. Some people are able to deal with matchups way easier than others. For example, let's say like Hammer. Let's say you play Hammer, right? Let's say you go against a Ragnar. I'd say a Ragnar is a tough matchup. Such for the reason that if the Ragnar picks up a Katars against Hammer, Hammer really, I think, is one of the weapons that struggles against Katars and bow, right? So Ragnar is just one of those matchups where if he has Katars, you gotta play a little bit differently, okay? Than you would otherwise maybe play against, I don't know, Axe, Blasters, you know, basic stuff, okay? Scythe, etc. So, you know, keep that in mind. Keep in mind what sort of matchups you're doing well against and what you're not really doing well against. For example, for me, it would be Katars with Hammer and Bow. And then, for if I had Gauntlets, I would say probably Spear. Spear is probably one of those weapons that if I have Gauntlets, I instantly throw out Gauntlets if I go against the Spear. If I was taking the game 100% seriously, like, I would just throw out Gauntlets and just go on my other weapon. You know, Spears is one of those weapons you can't really, you know, to do much against if you have Gauntlets. And another tough matchup I'd say is probably Sword, such for the reason that they have a little bit better hitboxes in front than Gauntlets, because, you know, Sidelight is a weak hitbox. D-Light is really good, but it's hard to hit. But yeah, those are kind of my opinions. And, you know, you can base your own opinions on the matchups that you struggle against, and yeah, figure out what matchups you can deal with and can't deal with. My tip number 8 is knowing stat priority for the game mode you play and playstyle, okay? This is kind of a loaded sentence. Stat priority, what do I mean by that? So what I mean by stat priority, okay, is knowing what stats to prioritize over others, okay? Now, what kind of the stat priority I'd go by is, you know, dexterity being the least. You know, dexterity doesn't really matter unless you're like Hammer. It might matter a little bit with some true combos you might be able to get, but other than that, dex is kind of useless. It's either your 2 dex or your 10 dex, okay? That's kind of how the game goes. So dexterity, anything that takes up dex is good. For example, I'd probably run this. I'd run 4 dex. I'd still get my Hammer. What is it? I think it's Anlight, Sidelight. I'd still get that through at lower damage, and I'd just get extra force on it. So I'd probably run this if I was playing, for example, 1-on-1s. For 2v2s, I'd probably say the biggest things are defense and speed. And then for, you know, 1-on-1s, speed and strength. And basically anything that takes out a dex is usually good. Tip number 9. Use a crossover if your character has one, okay? Now, what do I mean by this, okay? It's a weird tip to give out, but seriously, there are some characters, like if, for example, you play Cross, just get Luke. If you just play Cross, get Luke. Like, it seriously makes a big difference. The Gauntlet side sig and sig are kind of hard to see. The D sig, especially on some higher contrast maps, is impossible to see. And for example, like Diamond Head or Caspian, different fucking legend. Let me tell you, different legend. Wait, these sigs are like, half of the time I'm confused on what the fuck he's doing. I won't lie. So, you know, there's Luke, there's Diamond Head, Roy Woods. There was one point where Roy Woods was actually a problem. Roy Woods is another one. His Hammer and Sig kind of looks fucking whack, and it's kind of hard to, you know, just honestly like even realize what the fuck's hitting it. And oh yeah, another one is Stevani. Stevani. Where are you? There you are. This character, this sig right here. You cannot guess what direction she's doing it until, you know, she's doing it. Oh yeah, this is another one. Alucard. Alucard is disgusting. The orb and sig, different sig, completely different. Ryu. There was like a certain point where I was really confused on what the fuck Ryu would do. So get a crossover, okay? Tip number 10. Play tournaments and play community tournaments if you can, okay? Now, tournaments, you know, you can basically just go in the game, and if you're on PC, I'm not sure about on Xbox and PS4, there is a tab where you're able to click, and you're just able to see all the official tournaments going on, the community tournaments going on, and if you go on Twitch, you might be able to find some streamers holding like streamer tourneys, okay? It's the same on console. Good to know. And yeah, just participate in tournaments. If you seriously want to improve, the game is completely differently played in tournaments. I'm not gonna lie. the games from ranked to tournament is completely different. When there's money on the line, people play way differently, and I personally enjoy it because people actually take the game seriously. So if you want to find more like serious practice and find out what you're seriously doing wrong, and you're not feeling like the ranked game quality is high enough for your standards, so go play a tournament or a few, and you'll figure out things quite more easily than through ranked maybe. Tip number 11: find what works for you and improve on it. Now you might be, what do you mean by that? What I mean by that is everybody kind of plays to their own style, and kind of they kind of go at their own groove. Of course, once you're at the top 3, top 4 level, there's kind of like a mechanically right ways of playing the game, like when to parry, when to go in, when to be aggressive, when to do XYZ thing, right? To kind of like do things right. But at the end of the day, you're playing the game the way you like, and I think the best way to improve at the game at the end of the day is figuring out something that's your way of playing the game, right? It might be spamming on the Bison, right? And you might think of like, okay, well, there isn't much to improve on it, but I'm gonna be honest, if you're able to spam perfectly on Bison, I'm not sure who's gonna beat you. So, figure out your way of playing the game, right? If you wanna be the best Koji player, become the best Koji player. If you wanna be like the weirdest axe player on Ragnar, become the weirdest axe player on Ragnar. Like, there's so many different ways of playing the game, which I personally like, about the game is, there's so many different ways of playing the game, and nothing's quite literally the way of playing the game. So, if you put in the practice, if you put in the hours, and if you find out your mistakes, your habits, the bad parts of your gameplay, and the good parts of your gameplay, you're gonna flourish no matter what, right? The way I got into the game was playing core, and so spamming core gauntlet D-Sig, and I almost got top 8, okay? All I did was spam gauntlet D-Sig, hammer, Ansig, D-Sig, Ansig, like, that's all I did, and I almost got top 8, okay? Yes, let's find out what works for you. Alright, tip number 12. Now, I kind of went on this already a little bit earlier. I said find your habits, but tip number 12 is exactly that. Find your habits, okay? Objectively look at your games and figure out what you're objectively doing wrong. Because that would mean that there's a certain way of playing the game, which is not really correct, but at the same time it's kind of correct, okay? So, for example, what I mean by bad habits is dodging twice the same direction, not mixing up your engagements, either it being the second I fall down I do an aerial attack, or every time I dash in I do like a gauntlet sidelight. Habits that are able to like be something that you repeat multiple times in your gameplay, right? Now, I don't think I have like any sort of good replays to show you of habits. I'd probably say the worst offenders are dodging twice the same way. Anytime you dash in, you do this move. Or the second you fall down, you do this move. Or, stuff like that. So stuff that makes your gameplay really predictable. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to stay, kind of mysterious with the gameplay, right? We don't want the opponent to figure out what we're doing instantly, okay? So find out your habits, and honestly, if you don't find your habits instantly and you feel like you're really stuck, not really figuring out what are your habits, what I suggest is coaching, because second pair of eyes is gonna be better than 2 pair of eyes. Tip number 13: watch pro gameplay. I cannot stress this tip enough. Honestly, I'm a bad offender of this. I don't really watch too much pro gameplay, but I'm on Twitter. Okay, I'm a lot on Twitter. Paikors, by the way, follow me on Twitter. There was a clip I saw. Reposted by Solerson, a pro player, and it was kind of versus Lorez Umir tournament, and I would have not seen this clip otherwise. So let me pull this up. This is kind of Lorez in final elimination Brazil. So kind of picks up the hammer and light, side light, D light, double D lights, reverse Sair, D light, Sair, going back to the neutral. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of crazy, and it's getting kind of dark in my room. Either way, that was kind of crazy. And I would have not seen this if it wasn't for the repost. So, watch pro gameplay. Seriously. Tip number 14. Sparring higher elo players. Okay? Now, there are discords. If you just look up Brawlhalla discords, there's Pavelski's discord. There's probably Brawlhalla official discords. There's a billion different discords that you could probably find an opponent higher than your elo. Now, of course, this doesn't really go for players if you're like, I don't know, 2,700 elo, then, you know, finding opponents is, you know, kind of your own mission. Like, have fun with that. But if you're below 2,700 elo, you can probably find somebody higher than you. So I really suggest, if you have friends, if you don't have friends, just go on a Discord, say you're looking to spar, or you're maybe looking for 2v2s or anything, or just go on EXP, ranked most likely, and just spar. Ask people to spar. It's really like a mental free way of like just going in, not really having to worry about either losing elo or losing your mental. You can just kind of like play the game without any chains, and it's a good way to kind of improve at the game with zero stakes. Like, you're gonna go against a better player, and it's not a 10 times just better practice than, you know, going against somebody at your elo that's playing for their lives, you know, ready to parry you for 8 minutes, and the only thing they're doing is Scarlet D-Sync, okay, on lands. So, you know, there's better practice out there. So spar higher elo players the game. Tip number 15. Playing 2v2s and 1v1s differently. And 2v1s. Okay? So what I mean by this is you can't really play the same playstyle you play in 2v2s the same way as you play 1v1s. In 2v2s, there's two other players except you and your opponent. There's his teammate and your teammate. So 2v2s, of course, is going to be bound to be a little bit more different than 1v1s. 2v2s is more rotation based, more, you know, being passive and trying to figure out what the enemy team is trying to, like, you know, get at. If they're trying to do team combos, if they're trying to, you know, play a game where the aggressive player goes in and the supportive player kind of plays back and follows up on the aggressive player. The game is just way different, okay? And in 1v1s, it's more or less you and the opponent trying to figure out, you know, what mistakes y'all are doing, okay? And it's way more cut and dry, forward, okay? But in 2v2s, there's way more things you gotta think about. So, in that case, make sure that you play 2v2s and 1v1s differently, because I kind of see that mistake in some players where they play a lot of 2v2s. For example, me, I play a lot of 2v2s, and then I kind of expect that same in 1v1s, which is not gonna happen, right? For me, I play a lot of 2v2s. My problem is that, like, I become like a hard sharking player after a certain point, and my mix-ups are not as high level as I would probably want them to be for somebody that's, you know, respectively good at 2v2s, okay? So I would probably personally, you know, if I was to play 1v1s more seriously, I would probably work on my mix-ups a lot more and my engagements, because they are really stale to sort of certain extent, I'd say. Tip number 16. Finding consistency in your elo gains, in quotations, if you're feeling stuck at a certain elo. So what do I mean by this, okay? What do I mean by this? So there's some people that say, let's say around 1900, they feel really stuck, okay? They feel like they can't find like a way of improving at the game at a certain pace that they would like to see, okay? And one thing that helped me personally a lot was finding consistency in the elo games, okay? What I mean by this is, let's say each day you have about in you like 8 games. Let's say you play 8 games. Now, out of those 8 games, you can only lose 4. Okay? Once you lose 4, then you gotta stop. So, for example, let's say you win, win, lose, win, lose. Wait, how many games is this? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, exactly on 8. So here, you would stop. But let's say you win, lose. You stop. Okay? And you could kind of maybe make this 3 instead of 4 if you wanted to make sure that the volatility of your games wouldn't be as big as 4. But, you know, I'd probably say, you know, half of the games, more or less, You know, if you lose them, you gotta stop. So this kind of gives you like a goal each day on how to basically kind of, you know, this is kind of your day. Let's say you maybe have 10 games in you, or like maybe you have like 3 or fucking 20, like, and oh yeah, I'm talking about ranked 21s, specifically ranked 21s. If you want to improve at ranked 21s, if you're feeling really stuck, is just figure out how many games you're able to give out each day. Let's say in my case, it was 7 games, and if I lost 3, I would stop instantly. I would just stop right there and then. So that's a way of kind of like knowing your elo gains and elo losses kind of more consistently, and it will make the game quality a lot better, because for those 7 games you are giving your 100%, okay? Your 100%. Before the 7 games, you should be warming up, you should play a little bit of EXP, maybe some 2v2s, and then you play ranked 21s for 7 games, okay? 7. Okay? Maximum. If you lose 3, you're gone. So if you lose, it's really hard to just stop there, but you know, that's another thing. Learning that kind of self-control to not act on your anger and act on your until knowing that you can play better, to keep on going and going and going, because that's where you kind of start either losing really hard or winning really hard, and then losing hard, winning hard, losing hard, and then, you know, the game becomes basically a cat and mouse of like chasing your tail until, you know, you either win the jackpot or you lose the jackpot, which we're trying to avoid. You want to make the game as calculated as possible. So that's one way. It improves on your self-control. It will improve your elo gains in a longer period of time, because you are giving out 100% on those games. And if you just want to see gains, just raw gains, that's probably what I would say. Is this for gaining elo or getting better? Well, it's kinda both. It depends how you look at it, okay? If you really badly wanna see like elo gains at a certain elo, then this is for more or less elo gains. But if you want to get better at the game, it kinda is like a self-control, like mental thing. Because this game is like 99.999% mental. Like anything you do, anything you decide, anything you go for is just not made out of your mental and your decisions, right? And in this game, there's a lot of people that struggle with like self-control, like not getting tilted, you know, all sorts of other emotions, right? And the second you're able to take emotions out of the gameplay, you're able to play 10 times better. If you're able to treat each and every one of your stock at 100% without being scared of losing or winning it, you're just gonna play better. Outright, you're just gonna play better. If you, like, for example, if you put up a Luna who's in tournament mindset against a 19 fucking 100, who do you think is gonna lose? I'm putting my money on Luna. Okay? So that's basically what I'm saying. Is like you gotta have that mental strength of like, if you lose, it is what it is. Go back to playing 2v2 ranked with your friends. Go spar some people. Go play EXP. But that's your ranked 21s. You're done. You're done. You're out. You shot your shot. You're done. Okay? But and then some days, you know, you would have bad days where you just lose. And then there was like some days that you'd win, lose, win, lose, and then be done, right? For example. And it's a way of kind of like tracking your progress, because then you would be able to look at like each day, like 7 games this day, 7 games that day, and you'll be able to kind of replay review and be like, I had a really bad day this day, and then I had a really good day this day. Why? And then you'd probably look at your losses, look at your wins on the other day, and you're able to kind of see what you're doing different against certain opponents and what you're not doing different. It's all about finding that consistency, because a lot of people struggle finding that consistency in their games, and then they're kind of like, well, I'm kind of losing some games, I'm not really sure why, I kind of like win sometimes 10 games and then I lose 10 games, and then I go to sleep and I basically lost like 10 elo that day, and I don't know why. I wonder why. So if you really badly want to find elo games, that's like raw elo games where you're losing and winning elo, that's probably the best way of like, you know, kind of like doing it, because then you just have like set out days where you're like losing either really hard or winning really hard, and you're able to see why you're winning really hard and why you're losing really hard, really particularly. Instead of you maybe losing like 10 games and then on the like, let's say at around like the fourth loss, you started like, you know, your brain started shutting off, or like, you know, you start doing stupid mistakes. We're basically trying to avoid that. So stupid mistakes don't happen anymore if you just play like a certain amount of games. Tip number 17, coaching. Now, what do I mean by coaching? Coaching is one of those things that is really underrated or overrated, depending, of course, in the person. But what I mean by this is I think every player, any top player you can think of is getting coaching, or they're not really getting coaching, but like they're open to coaching at least, right? For example, you know, my homie Pavelski, you know, he probably does get coaching here and there from like other top players when he can. You know, you could probably think of like, I'm trying to think of some pros. Like Dummy is really open to coaching. Like probably like Luna, I don't know the guy. But either way, coaching is it's a really one of those hidden metas where knowledge is really key in Brawlhalla, and coaching is one of those ways of just unlocking more knowledge from another person's perspective. And you know, whatever sort of state you're in, if you're a pro player, if you're like a semi-pro, if you're like high, low, mid, diamond, plat, coaching will always help. Okay? No matter at what elo you are, another pair of eyes is better than one pair of eyes, okay? And that's just always how the game has been, you know. Coaching is just good. For 2v2s or 1v1s, so get coaching, if you can. Alright, tip number 18. Now, I kind of talked about this earlier on, but this is really big. Learn how to play without tilting. Okay? Now, this is a really loaded sentence. How do you learn to play a game? You know, how do you not get mad at the game, okay? It's kind of hard to get to that certain mindset, again. That certain mindset where you're able to give out 100%, but at the same time, you don't, like, you know, get affected by that 100%. If you give out your 100% and you lose, dang, GG's, I gave it my all. Fuck, I'll look at the replay, see what I did wrong. Oh, I did these things wrong. Alright, next game. Like, don't beat up yourself about, you know, you losing in a video game. It's kind of hard to step into that mindset, but once you kind of unlock that part of your brain where you're able to literally like give out 101% without feeling like, dang, fuck, like I lost, now I can't do shit no more, I'm so bad, man, I like fuck, I'll queue up some J-Yon and just fucking like I'll try a great short now, like, dang, like, fuck, nothing's working anymore. Like, if you're able to get out of that sort of headspace and mind space, you'll find so much more improvement in your gameplay, because you won't, like, be scared of going for a string, you won't be getting too nervous in some situations, and tilting is just one of those things, like, if you're able to learn to play the game without tilting, it's a different game. It really is. Like, once I figured out how to play the game without tilting, without getting anxious, without getting mad, or, you know, getting scared, like, it's a different game. It's a different game you're playing, and it will improve your game no matter what, because you're taking emotions out of the gameplay, which will lead to better decision making. And that's my tip number 18. Learn how to play without tilting, or the fear of what's gonna happen to you, etc, etc. Tip number 19, you can system map backgrounds. Right? You might have already kind of seen in this video, like, my map backgrounds are black and white. This is just kind of for my eyes. It's like, I like, for example, like, I don't know a bright map that really, like, hurts my, I'm trying to figure out a map. Like, let's say, for example, like, before, like, Shipwreck Falls, like, was one of those maps that broke my eyes. Like, anytime I'd be playing at, like, 2 p.m., I'd be like, oh, what's going on? Oh, shit, I hit a stair. Okay. Like, for me personally. So if you want white and black backgrounds, it's legal, you can do this, it is tournament legal, it is completely fine to do this. You can go, for example, to Game Banana, which is just Game Banana. Okay, it already goes there for me, kinda, but just search up Brawlhalla white and black backgrounds, and instantly, first thing, Game Banana, You go here. Yep, it looks like this. Manual download. Click on download. You get the file. Unzip it. Then once you're unzipped it, go to here. Brawlhalla. Properties. Installed. Browse. Then once you're in browse, go to map art, backgrounds, and then just drop the files here, right? Just drop them. Don't rename them, don't touch them, just drop them here, replace them, and then your map background will be, different. The last tip, okay? The last tip, guys. This is the most important one, okay? Listen up, tune up your ears, tune up your headset. Listen closely. Subscribe to the channel, okay? Now, you might think that that tip is a kind of a joke, no? But it really isn't, okay? Subscribe to the channel. Knowledge is key in this game. If you want more knowledge, if you want to get better at Brawlhalla, seriously, subscribing to this channel will just, help us out. And at the same time, you'll get, like, infinite value out of these, videos. Like, if you know about these videos, if you don't know about them, hey, they're a loss. But hey, subscribe to the channel. Click on that notification bell. Get my coaching on the website. I don't know when the fuck that's coming out. You already know the deal. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. See you on the next one, motherfucker. Peace out.